U.S. President Joe Biden has dispatched several high-level Americans to war-ravaged Ukraine in recent weeks. But the White House says that he has no firm plans to make the dangerous trip himself. It's not for lack of desire, says White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
He wants to visit Ukraine, clearly in the future, but there's no plans to go at all at this time, I should say. He sent Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin to Kiev to demonstrate our unwavering commitment to Ukraine, and the First Lady, as you all know, went for Mother's Day to send an important message that the American people stand with the people of Ukraine.
Biden first sent his two top cabinet officials, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, to the under-siege capital. While there, they announced a nominee to fill the shuttered U.S. Embassy in Kyiv and pledged $713 million in military support. Then it was the First Lady's turn. She crossed into a border town and made an emotional appeal on Mother's Day, joining a fellow mother, Ukraine's First Lady.
I thought it was important to show the Ukrainian people that this war has to stop, and this war has been brutal, and that the people of the United States stand with the people of Ukraine.
And two U.S. congressional delegations have gone to Kyiv to show their support. But presidential visits to war zones have a higher bar, says presidential historian Jeremy Suri. They involve high risk, and historically, he says, little payoff.
There's no evidence in any of the examples I can think of that a presidential visit actually made a difference in the outcome of the war. It is symbolic, it matters politically, but not visiting doesn't destroy your policy making, just as visiting doesn't make your policy.
And he noted presidents have previously visited places where there is a U.S. military presence. Not here, which makes this extraordinarily risky for a man as high profile as the president. And he added, mortal danger isn't the only risk a president faces there.
So there is the infamous case of George W. Bush when giving a joint press conference with the Iraqi leader, an Iraqi journalist throwing a shoe at him. Many things can go wrong when you're outside of your own country, when you're in a war zone, and when even with all the checking that you do, you don't really know who the people are who are around the president. And that's particularly problematic when it's not American soldiers in Ukraine, as it was in most of the other cases we've talked about.
Suri notes that the perils of Ukraine mean that any Biden visit will be necessarily shrouded in secrecy until after the fact. And so, it may be some time before these two leaders are again face-to-face. And as long as the war continues, the same probably goes for these two. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.